is Rafi Cruzon, and you are tuned in to Nothing But That Sports Talk. Welcome to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafi Cruzon alongside Imani Wright for Winsidr. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I know you have a fun experience with WNBA these past few weeks. As I see you went to All-Star Weekend and you made an appearance on the little Thursday night with the W segment with Dari and Dee Richards. But and now, and obviously, all year long, you've been covering the Los Angeles Sparks, who I kind of had an underwhelming season, and just to give a little bit of what we're going to be talking about. But let's start off with like why you started getting involved in covering sports.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I'm actually a former basketball player. I've been playing since I was like 11. And so for me, a dream of mine was actually to be in the WNBA when I was younger, but I slowly realized that that dream was not going to be a reality anytime soon. So I decided to cover sports, it's specifically basketball. Both my parents played sports. My dad played football. My mom played basketball, softball, volleyball. And my brother also played basketball as well. So athletics runs in the family. And so for me, I was like, well, how can I still be involved with basketball and also hone my writing skills and editing skills and things of that nature? And so that's how I got into sports.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And when you doing all that, like throughout your 4 years of college, like why don't you talk a little bit about like how you managed to build that writing skills and being involved with covering sports?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually started writing when I was 16 for a local publication called Michigan High School Basketball. And with them, I really got a chance to see how the writing process works. And from there, I've grown into covering sports and then also local news as well. So I covered local news at Local 4 News in Detroit for 4 years as an intern. And then now I'm an intern at ESPN Los Angeles. And then also too, just going to Chapman, where I'll be graduating from this year. I've learned a lot from my professors. A lot of them have industry experience of over 15 to 20 years. And so from them, they've just taught me like how to make my writing better and to be better and just to keep learning along the way and to keep growing.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. And when we're on the subject of talking about how the professors taught you how to become a better writer, like what is the one constructive criticism that they've given you and you've given to yourself as a writer that you're willing to build on?
Yeah, so for me, honestly, it's being more concise. I'm somebody who like I want to make sure I have all the facts out, but sometimes it can become a little wordy. So most definitely becoming more concise with my writing is something that professors have told me to work on, and then also like I need to work on as well. But yeah, I think though that's probably would be something.
Exactly, because when you're writing stories about a event that you cover, especially in sports, you don't have to put all the facts, but you just have to put like the most important facts that's going to catch the reader's eye.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly, and not to mention, I mean, whatever times in your life where you like had typos or misspellings when you writing articles, and how did you and if the teachers and your professors and anybody that's read your work who saw that and gave you a hard time about it, how did you learn from it?
Yeah, honestly, it happens pretty frequently. Especially in the world of social media where like you want to try to get information out as much as you can. I literally had a typo yesterday. And what I always do learn from those is first of all, sometimes you just need to take a deep breath and read over your stuff. I always read over my stuff twice before I send it. But just making sure like to just take a deep breath and to continue to read it over and over again. And that's kind of how I work through it. Most of the time it's like little stuff. It's nothing like huge. Like I make sure not to misspell people's names because that's important because personally with my name that's unique, it gets misspelled a lot. So I make sure not to do that to other people. But in terms of those types of things, when people point it out, they're usually very gracious with me because they know like it's a mistake, and that I usually learn from it and it usually doesn't happen again. So, but social media, I think, is where I find the most typos on my own behalf. But I usually end up fixing it because I don't want anything to be wrong on my timeline. So,
Yeah, exactly. You had to make sure that those are correct, especially when you're going to be covering drug or not events like the WNBA All-Star Break, which we'll get into in a minute. But when you look back at your stories, like what is the name one story that you cover overall whether it's your days at Chapman or Winsidr, that you're proud of?
Yeah, honestly, my most recent story I did about Carly Samuelson is probably one of my favorite. It was a really in-depth story about her journey and then also about her stellar season that she's having. In terms from the shooting from the three-point line, she has insane numbers. So I think that was really proud of that because it was an interview intertwined with analytics, which I think was a really cool way of storytelling because not only like am I able to tell her story, but I'm also able to back up her story analytically and also back her up in terms of how great of a player she is with those analytics as well. So I think that was kind of one of my stories that I've been proud of.
Exactly. I mean, and Carly Samuelson, she's very talented. She's a very talented basketball player here for scoring in the low post.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Now, let's stay on topic. Name one story that you're not proud of, and how did you learn from it?
I can't say that I have a story I'm not proud of. I'm the type of person that like if I'm gonna put something out, like I'm gonna be proud of it. I don't really take pride in putting out anything mediocre. I'm a perfectionist at heart, like that's like my thing. So if I'm gonna put something out, like it has to be high quality, it has to be good, and it has to be something that I'm interested in or something that I know can help someone else. I'm also big on that as well. That's kind of why I got into just writing and journalism in general is because like I want to help people and I want to inform them. So for me, I don't really think I have a story that like not proud of at all.
Well, that's what you got to avoid anyway. I mean, I'm only asking that because I know there're going to be some story. Because I know as a journalist, you're going to have moments where you look back. When you're looking back, you're going to have at least one or two stories that you wrote that people like tell you that it wasn't really that great, or you got graded in a lower grade than what you expected. Because anybody can write a high quality story. The people that are reading it are not really feeling the story that you're trying to tell when you're writing it because you don't give enough facts. That's something that you have to be mindful of. I was told that a lot during my college days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now to change gears real quick, let's just talk about like this year you've been covering the Los Angeles Sparks, and
Yeah.
during the time you wrote stories and managed to cover players such as the Gumick sisters, Carly Lou Samuelson, Azare Stevens, Lexi Brown. Why don't you give me your overall thoughts your on the way that you've been able to cover the Los Angeles Sparks this season and the type of team they've been?
Yeah, so honestly, covering the Sparks has been an amazing experience. I'm honored and privileged to be able to do that. And honestly, covering them has been a joy. I've been able to get to know the players a little bit, being able to ask some questions in the pressers and stuff has been super cool. And also to being able to have and communicate with head coach Kurt Miller, who's the new head coach with the Sparks, has been super cool. And honestly too, in terms of the team, they've been up and down. They've had a lot of injuries. They've dealt with a lot of adversity this year. And a lot of people were expecting them to come out and be on fire. But unfortunately, due to injuries, that hasn't been the case. But they've had some key pieces come back, like Laisha Clarendon. They just came back yesterday in their first game. And then also too, Lexi Brown just came back yesterday as well and played. They both played significant minutes and played really well. So I'm really excited to see once they do get all those key pieces back because Shanae Gilmckay is still out and Nia Clouden is still out as well. So once they get those key pieces back, I think they'll be a really good team and possibly a playoff team. They might slip in there.
Yeah, they're not that far away from the top eight, or they're not that far away from the top eight in the Los Angeles Sparks. I believe they're like a few games out, even after even the way they did come back and take a simple lead, but lost in Minnesota Knicks. But Minnesota is a tough place to play, so it's not surprising. Like looking back at the game yesterday against Minnesota. I mean, what do you think? Was it more about the Minnesota Knicks being a better team when they have full court, or the Sparks just running out of gas when they took that 7-point lead?
Honestly, I think it was that second quarter is what killed them. The Lynx went on a huge run, 18-2 run in the second quarter and going into halftime. And I think that really kind of killed the momentum. But the Sparks did power back and rally back, which I think if I'm Coach Miller, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the way that the team fought back, even being down by that much and being down kind of for almost the majority of the game. So honestly, I think it was just It just didn't work out. I mean, Nneka Ogwumike had a good look at the end of the game, but it just didn't work out. And I don't think they ran out of gas. I think they had the fight. The fight was there. It's just they just couldn't finish.
Yeah, the Sparks, the Sparks, they've been on like a 7-game losing streak. They haven't won since they met with the Dallas Wings. And funny enough, they face the Dallas Wings in phase on the 22nd, which is tomorrow. So, what is your overall outlook for this Los Angeles Sparks team? I know you just said they've had injuries, but what's your overall outlook as you look to end this 7-game losing streak that they're on?
I think honestly, it's just playing together and trying not to have those stretches of not scoring. Honestly, that's kind of what usually kills them in the end. Is usually they have a very very long stretch of not scoring. And Dallas is a super talented team. They have Satu Sabali, they have Natasha Howard, they have Arike Gumbawale. So honestly, it's just containing them as well. So containing those three, I think, will help in terms of them getting a win tomorrow. And honestly, too, just making sure that they are taking care of the ball, not turning it over, moving the ball, and moving without the ball, I think will be those key things for the Sparks heading into the matchup against the Wings.
Yeah, and as much as I don't want to look ahead, I mean, I'm looking at this rest of the schedule, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, you got back-to-backs with the Indiana Fever, the New York Liberty, and then the Washington Mystics. With the you played them two times each in a stretch of 6 games after you're done with the Dallas Wings. I mean, like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about the Los Angeles Sparks? They go look at the face of these opponents coming up that they have not seen, or even if they have seen, they have yet to get a win against so far.
I think honestly, they'll only get better and better, especially with inserting Lexi and Lasia back into the lineup. They'll start to get that chemistry that they had at the beginning of the season, and then also putting Azare Stevens at the 4, I think will also help as well in terms of getting the team some extra post interior scoring. So I think that's kind of what will help them sort of either get wins against Indiana and Washington as well.
Exactly, and the best the Sparks can do is, well, even though I'm biased, I'm a New York Liberty fan. But if they can split with if they can win against Dallas and split with the outcome of the opponents they've had in the homestand, then the Sparks might have a chance. They're only a game out of the last spot in the playoffs. So even with the lose streak, it ain't over until it's over.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the Sparks, once they, at the beginning of the season, they looked really well. They look like a well-oiled machine. And I most definitely think they can get back to that.
Yeah. But also that's literally part of what happened this week in the WNBA as I transitioned into this week in the W. Earlier this week, the Phoenix Mercury had about a convenient 2-game losing streak. They've also had their own share of injuries, like what the Sparks have been doing. But one of their 2 wins did come against the Connecticut Sun, who've been without Brianna Jones for the rest of the season. So what are your overall impressions about the way the Phoenix Mercury's come together in recent games?
Honestly, I'm happy for the Mercury, especially for BG. So I'm glad that things are starting to gel together and come together, especially with the new head coach that's at the helm. I think letting go of Vanessa Nygaard might have been a good move for the team, because ever since then, the team seems to have been a little more cohesive and a little more like playing a lot better.
Exactly, and Nikki Blue, who's like the replacement coach for Vanessa Nygaard. I spoke to her after the win against Connecticut Sun. She told me it's all about making sure that you play better defense against the Connecticut Sun team, because we know because they're really good. Don't let the fact that they without Jocko Jones free. They can still pick up big wins. Not to mention, and I said this in previous episodes, there was one season where they almost made it to the WNBA Finals when they had Jocko Jones on the roster, but she didn't want to play during COVID. So it's not like as if they didn't know how to play together without her on the roster before.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I mean, they have DeWanna Bonner, who's like one of the GOATs, honestly. So I'm really excited to see what the Sun do going into the rest of the year, and also what the Mercury do going into the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, and then also the Las Vegas Aces become the very first team to notch 20 victories on the season, and they've only lost 2 games. We expected this because they're one of the teams that we expected to be one of the top teams along with the New York Liberty after this offseason that they've had. After the offseason that they had. But what's your overall thoughts on the Las Vegas Aces after the season they've had reaching 20 wins?
Yeah, honestly, the Aces are such a fun team to watch. They're very fundamentally sound. They make minimal mistakes. They're kind of what every basketball player, women's basketball player type of team you want to play on. Everybody shares the ball. Everybody kind of gets theirs. The scoring is very balanced. And also, too, everybody's bought in and it's a team. And they all play for each other and they play together. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things to watch in basketball, honestly, is watching Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, they created a sisterhood both on the court and in Slam Magazine, as they announced a new Slam Magazine cover this past week. Before we get to that, let's just take a listen to what they said about the type of season that they've had. Talking about A'ja Wilson after I spoke to her in the post game.
With nothing but that sports.net.
This is Rafi with nothing but that sport. I got a question for sports talk. I got a question for A'ja Wilson. I mean, this team is literally 20-2, which is like one of the most dominant seasons we've had in WNBA history. I mean, what are your overall thoughts of being able to make a major contribution to the type of team this Aces is?
Man, I love my teammates. Like, I love them through and through. Those are my sisters. I wouldn't want to go to war with anyone else. And I mean, the record is a reflection of who we are and what we stand for. And we just like to have fun while doing it. And we're just so competitive and we're locked in. And I love the feeling that we have in our locker room. It's a great feeling to be around. I love coming to work every single day. And I'm going to the wheels fall off when it comes to my teammates. And I feel like they'll do the same for me. So I think that energy, when you walk into a gym, when you walk into our locker room, you feel it, and it's just being reciprocated. And it just goes down the line from 1 to 11. And I just think that that's a big key into how we are and who we are now.
Appreciate the insight. Good luck in the next game against the Minnesota Lynx.
Thank you.
Thank you.
23-15, 3-3 ain't bad either.
Go get some rest, 2:30 a.m. wake up call. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll see you in Minnesota. 12 o'clock Pacific time, Saturday.
Thanks, JE.
Okay, so what are your overall thoughts on A'ja Wilson's comments after the game yesterday in the 79-63 win over the Seattle Storm?
Yeah, honestly, A'ja is saying what every basketball player wants to hear when they're playing for a team, and what a coach wants to hear, that they're having fun, that they're doing it for each other, and that they have that sisterhood. But also, too, it's fun, but they're also being competitive, and they take their job very seriously. And honestly, I'm really happy for A'ja and for all the success that the Aces is having, and she's having a great season as well. So honestly, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. And you being led by MVP, A'ja Wilson. Do you see her repeating as MVP again, or will Breanna Stewart take it?
I most definitely could see it being between A'ja and Stewie. Honestly, I think in terms of if we're taking teams into consideration as well and team success, I most definitely think that A'ja deserves the most valuable player award.
Yeah, without question, especially since the Aces they beating everybody right now. You can't get past that. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. But do you still see the WNBA finals going down between the Aces and the Liberty?
Honestly, with the way that Liberty have been playing lately, and the way that they've been turning over the ball, I most definitely can see a team like Connecticut sneaking in there, or the Mystics, or even the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream has found their spark and are playing really well together, and Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray have been putting up monster numbers together, along with defensive efforts by Nia Coffey, and also too Monique Billings has been playing well. I mean, they have multiple all-stars on their team, including Cheyenne Parker as well. So I think that that team is really starting to come together. And then also too, I feel like the Wings can sneak in there as well. So honestly, I think that this has been a really, really competitive season. And obviously the Aces are in a league of their own, but I think after that, like, I most definitely can see those teams sneaking into the finals.
Yeah, I mean, without question. I mean, it's a strong possibility considering the Liberty couldn't even defeat the Dallas Wings. But luckily, both the Aces and Liberty have never lost back-to-back games this season. And hopefully the New York Liberty can avoid that for at least one more stretch as they go up against the Washington Mystics. And we'll hear my thoughts on that game on the very next episode. But let me ask this one question. Do you think the New York Liberty can bounce back and score a win against the Washington Mystics? Because, well, let's be honest, they did get blasted by them on opening day. And then literally a month later, they had to come back from 17 down just to win at the Barclays Center. So, again, do you see New York Liberty bouncing back and beating the Mystics?
I can most definitely see them bouncing back, but it's all about taking care of the ball and making sure that they're playing cohesively. It seems like sometimes they seem a little disjointed. And I think you have to kind of reel them back in and make sure that they're focused, doing whatever they need to do in order to win the game. But it most definitely will be a close one.
Exactly. And speaking of the New York Liberty, I mean, even with all the wins they did, even the fact that they never lost back-to-back games, the losses they did have, it came more down to stamina and consistency with the New York Liberty. You, what do you think about? What do you think was all? What do you think the losses that the Liberty had? Was it more about the teams they lost to be better, or they just had lost stamina and inconsistency on the court?
I think it's a mixture of both. These teams come out and compete every night, and I'm sure that the Liberty do have a target on their back in terms of other teams wanting to beat them. So teams are going to come with that competitive fire every night. They're not just going to lay down and let them win. But also too, as a team for the Liberty, like I mentioned earlier, they have to make sure they stay together, they play together, and that also too, they stay out of foul trouble. There's been a couple of games where a lot of the key players have been in foul trouble, or players that are expected to perform well haven't been performing well. So I think that's also another key in terms of the New York Liberty and continuing to win games.
Yes, they have to, and that's what it's all about. And while we're on this, as we switch gears real quick, you was at WNBA All-Star Weekend. So why don't you tell me a little bit of a backstory about what it's like to actually cover WNBA All-Star Weekend and making a couple of connections, including with people that you work with at Winsidr, like Miles and Owen Pence.
Yeah, so honestly, it was a really, really cool experience. I'm blessed and honored that Winsidr let me represent them at All-Star. I did get to meet Miles, which was a surreal experience. He's way taller in person than I thought he was. So that was cool. And honestly, too, it was a great environment overall. I got to meet a couple of other people in the media like Dorothy J. Gentry and Grady Diaz, who are awesome people. So that was cool. And then on top of that, like I got to be up close and personal with the players. And also too, I got to go to the orange carpet and see what they were wearing. And some of the fits were killing it. I know my personal favorite was Arike's outfit was my favorite. And also too, I got a chance to go to WNBA Live, the media preview, and the media activations that they had were super cool. And honestly, I'm excited for the future All-Star games that'll happen in the next couple of years in terms of just it being on a bigger scale. Because I know that a lot of people said that in Chicago, it was a little bit smaller, but in Vegas, it kind of took it to another level. So I'm excited to see it expand and become even bigger. And it was just a really awesome experience.
Yeah, I mean, I could only imagine. I mean, I wish I was down there covering it, but whatever. I managed to interview and get a couple of interviews. I mean, I managed to speak to Nika Gumik talking about her All-Star experience. It was a loss, and she really loved the fact that you get to be around a lot of big name people and play with big name people in the All-Star game. And so when I spoke to her about that and she gave that response, it was very nice for her to mention all that.
Yeah, for sure. And Nneka was killing it on the orange carpet. Her outfit was very cute. So, and also I'm happy for her. She was the only Spark with the All-Star nod this year. So I was extremely excited to see her play.
Yeah. Yep, it's exciting. But also, they announced that the Kathy Engelberg Conference, the next year's All-Star break will be in Phoenix, Arizona. And let's be honest, I wish it was in New York next year, but I get it. They want to do it in Phoenix for the first time, so it's fine. I'll let them have that.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, it's gonna be hot. So yeah, I'm sure they'll have it in New York at some point, because especially with the way that the city is set up, I feel like it's All-Star friendly.
Yeah, I mean, it's always All-Star for when it comes to New York City and hosting sporting events. Now, to continue talking now, to switch gears with earlier this week, you got to make an appearance on RE's Thursday Night with the W segment with Dee Richards. Want to talk a little bit about what it's like being able to share your knowledge and wisdom of women's basketball with one of the most phenomenal talents we see in the WNBA today. We're talking from a media standpoint.
Yeah, it was super cool. Me and Ari actually officially have been connected for a while, and we officially met in person when I was on the SV's red carpet. So that was super cool. But yeah, honestly, it was a super cool experience. They reached out to me via Twitter DM. And I was honestly like, wow, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So it was a super fun experience. It was via Skype. So it was super cool. And they're actually based in New York, so which I found out. And but it was honestly an awesome experience. I'm really glad that they trusted me and that they wanted to have me on. I'm really appreciative of that moment. It was actually my first TV appearance ever talking about the W. So for me, it was a super cool experience, and I was super happy that they trusted me to do it.
Yeah, technically it's digital streaming, not to bring it down, but technically it's digital streaming. I mean, you can always see that segment on Amazon Prime Sports Talk, which is literally Amazon exclusive, not on television, but okay, at least you get a chance to talk sports with Dari. And let's go through somebody, and I know a little thing or two about talking sports with Dari on my platform, nothing but that sports talk. A few like years ago when she came on with Christina, she's very nice. It's almost like as if I know her for years when I was talking women's basketball with her.
Yeah, for sure. Ari's super sweet. I've yet to meet Christina in person, unfortunately, but me and Christina
Christina
have
was at the All-Star break. You had all the time in the world to meet her. You could have
I
met
didn't
her
see
in the
her.
club.
I didn't see her. It happens.
She's on
So
the court. Come on, man. You can't miss Christina Williams. I mean, to be fair, Christina doesn't go to every event, but this year she's going to every event. You can't miss her.
I did miss her, unfortunately. So it is what it is. I already talked to her about it. So
Yeah, but it's all good. Better days are coming. I mean, you can't miss the Miss WNBA talent when they go down there. I mean, seriously.
yeah, for sure.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Nothing But That Sports. So thank you so by Imani Wright. And I love the work you do for Winsidr, and I hope it continues. And I know you're going to be shining in the WNBA circuit. Before I let you go for the final time, like, what can you see yourself doing 10 years from now compared to right now being a writer for Winsidr?
Honestly, it's working digital content or doing social media for a team would be kind of the thing that I would love to be doing. Specifically for the Sparks would be great. So that's kind of what I see myself doing.
All right. Well, that'll end it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.